The story today is about Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the Indigenous People of Biafra, IPOB. A Nigerian court has allowed him to file a motion at the Supreme Court to stop his ongoing conviction. This is a big deal, folks, and it's something everyone should pay attention to. You see, Kanu has been fighting legal battles for years now, and the way this one is unfolding could change the course of everything. The legal argument here is simple yet significant. Kanu and his legal team argue that the charges against him are based on laws that were repealed, and he's claiming that the court didn't properly address issues of jurisdiction and validity before moving forward. He says, "Hold up, this is unfair." And that's why he's trying to press pause on the trial. The trial has been a political hotbed. Kanu's case has drawn massive attention, not just from Nigerians, but from the international community. IPOB, which Kanu leads, is considered a terrorist group by the Nigerian government. But for many of Kanu's supporters, he's not a terrorist, he's a freedom fighter. The fight is far more than just legal. It's about the future of the southeastern region of Nigeria. There are serious political tensions here, folks, and this case only magnifies them. People are watching. The court is scheduled to deliver its judgment on November 20th, 2025. If Kanu loses, it could be a big blow to his supporters, and it would mean he's moving one step closer to being convicted. But if he wins, it'll send shockwaves across the country. So much is at stake. Now, the thing with Kanu's case is that it's not just about what's happening in court. It's about the larger implications for Nigeria's legal system and political future. Kanu is alleging that the charges against him are invalid. This is important because if the charges are based on outdated or repealed laws, then what are we really talking about? In his motion, Kanu argues that the court shouldn't continue proceedings until the higher court, like the Supreme Court, looks at this issue. He doesn't want to be convicted under an invalid law. It's an argument about fairness, about getting justice right. Imagine this scenario. Kanu goes into court and says, "I'm not guilty of these charges because these laws have been repealed." He's essentially saying, you can't do this to me because the foundation of this case is faulty. That's a huge claim. The problem for him, though, is that the court didn't seem to buy that argument when he presented it before. They dismissed his request to throw out the case. Instead, they told him he must proceed with his defense. And here's the kicker. If he doesn't, they'll move forward with a judgment. But Kanu refused to go ahead. He said he wouldn't defend himself under what he claims is a flawed legal process. So now, the stage is set for this motion at the higher courts. People in the southeast are watching closely. They've been supporting Kanu and they've been hoping for a different outcome. Many of them believe in the cause of IPOB. They want more autonomy for their region. Others, though, see Kanu's actions as divisive and they're watching with different eyes. If Kanu is found guilty, it could fuel further tensions. But if his conviction is halted, it could lead to more political unrest, with people questioning the legitimacy of the government's position. This isn't just a legal battle. It's a battle for control of a narrative. What's next? Well, Kanu's legal team has filed this motion at the appeal court. What they're asking for is a temporary stop. They want the judgment delayed until the Supreme Court hears their case, which would allow them to argue that Kanu shouldn't face charges based on a law that's no longer valid. The government, of course, is pushing back. They want to see this case through, and they want the verdict delivered. They say Kanu should go ahead and present his defense. They are pushing for a quick resolution, and they're eager to see what happens on November 20th. But here's the thing, this decision isn't just about Kanu. It's about how justice works in Nigeria. This case will set a precedent. If the courts rule in Kanu's favor, it will send a message that even if you're accused of terrorism, the law has to follow certain procedures. It's a message that no one, no matter how big the case is, should be treated unfairly or deprived of their rights. If the courts rule against him, it could raise questions about the legitimacy of Nigeria's legal system, particularly when dealing with political cases. This case is about so much more than one person's fate. It's about the future of Nigeria's justice system. If the courts are seen to rush a judgment or ignore key legal arguments, it could affect public trust. People in Nigeria are watching. They're watching the way justice is meted out. And this case could either restore faith in the system or shatter it. Now, let's talk about Kanu for a second. His supporters see him as a leader, a person who is standing up for the rights of his people, for the rights of those in the Southeast who feel left out of the national conversation. He's been advocating for Biafra, a breakaway state that many people in that region have been pushing for. But here's the other side. Kanu's critics see him as a troublemaker. They see him as someone who's stirring up division, not unity. And that's what makes this case so intense. It's not just about the facts of the law, it's about the political divide in Nigeria. Kanu's supporters feel empowered by his fight, and his detractors see him as a threat. We can't forget the role of the international community in all of this. And many human rights organizations have been watching closely. They've raised concerns about whether Kanu's rights are being respected, about whether he's being given a fair trial. This isn't just a national issue. It's a global one. The way Nigeria handles this case could affect how it's viewed on the world stage. If Kanu is denied his right to a fair hearing, it will raise serious concerns for anyone who cares about human rights and justice. And while all of this is happening in the courtroom, let's not forget about the emotional toll it's taking on the people involved. This is a high-stress situation. Kanu has been through a lot over the past few years, being arrested, detained, and now fighting this legal battle. His supporters are standing by him, but they're also feeling the weight of this case. The families of those involved, the people from the Southeast, are all part of this larger narrative. At the end of the day, what's clear is that this case is far from over. Whether Kanu wins or loses, it will have a massive impact on the future of Nigeria. It will shape the way the country deals with secessionist movements, political dissent, and the rights of its citizens. The legal implications are huge, and the political consequences will last for years to come. This whole legal battle between Nnamdi Kanu and the Nigerian government is shaking up the country. You've got to understand the weight of the situation. Kanu's supporters believe he's fighting for justice, but his critics believe he's leading a movement that could tear the country apart. This case is not just a legal issue. It's a political one, and it's resonating with people across the globe. The way the court decides will send a message, not just within Nigeria, but to the international community. Now, let's zoom out a little and think about how this case fits into the bigger picture. Over the years, we've seen secessionist movements rise and fall across the world. Whether it's in Catalonia, Scotland, or the Balkans, whenever groups push for independence, there are always legal, political, and social repercussions. Kanu and IPOB are no different. They want autonomy, they want independence, but the desire clashes with the Nigerian government's position on national unity. The government views IPOB's calls for secession as a threat to Nigeria's territorial integrity. On the other hand, IPOB sees the Nigerian government's heavy-handed approach as a way of silencing voices that demand change. But what's interesting here is that Kanu isn't just fighting to get out of jail, he's fighting to have his cause recognized in the courts. If Kanu is acquitted or if the trial is thrown out, it could be a huge win for his movement. And it would send a message to the Nigerian government that IPOB won't be easily silenced. But if he's convicted, it could have the opposite effect. It might strengthen the government's hand in dealing with secessionist movements. The stakes are incredibly high. It's also worth mentioning that Kanu's case is part of a much larger discussion about human rights. Many human rights organizations have been closely monitoring this case because they believe Kanu's rights may have been violated. His supporters say he was illegally detained, that his right to a fair trial was denied, and that the legal proceedings against him have been politically motivated. This case could become a landmark case for human rights in Nigeria and beyond. If Kanu is granted his motion and his case is thrown out, it could be seen as a victory for human rights activists who argue that individuals should not be persecuted for their political views. Let's think about the impact on Nigeria's judicial system for a moment. If the Supreme Court grants Kanu's motion and halts the trial, it would be a huge challenge to the credibility of the lower courts. A decision like that could call into question the judicial process itself, raising doubts about whether Nigeria's courts are capable of handling politically sensitive cases. It's a slippery slope, and the outcome will undoubtedly impact the trust people have in their legal system. But what if Kanu loses? What if the Supreme Court doesn't stop the trial and the Federal High Court goes ahead with the judgment? That could have a profound impact on Nigeria's political climate. If Kanu is convicted, the situation in the southeast could escalate. There could be protests, unrest, and even more calls for a referendum. On the other hand, if the courts rule in Kanu's favor, it might dampen the calls for violence. But regardless of the outcome, we can expect the political tension in the southeast to remain high. This trial is not just about Nnamdi Kanu. It's about the future of Nigeria. Will the government succeed in suppressing movements that call for secession? Or will the legal system push back and acknowledge the rights of those who feel oppressed? It's about Nigeria's commitment to its people's rights, to its democracy, and to its unity. This case is a referendum on how Nigeria balances national security and individual freedoms. It's about freedom of speech, the right to protest, and the right to a fair trial. It's about what kind of country Nigeria wants to be. Now, as we wait for the decision, what should we be paying attention to? First, keep an eye on the legal proceedings. The hearing at the appeal court is a pivotal moment. This motion isn't just a technicality. It's a chance for Kanu's legal team to convince the courts that this case isn't just about the facts, it's about the way the law is being applied. If they win this motion, the trial could be delayed indefinitely, and that would give Kanu's team more time to build their case and fight back. Second, pay attention to the reactions from the public and the international community. If Kanu wins, there will likely be celebrations from IPOB and its supporters. But if he loses, expect tensions to rise. There's a lot of passion in the southeast, and the situation could escalate quickly. The government will likely be under pressure to respond, and it will be interesting to see how they handle the aftermath of such a high-profile case. Lastly, watch for any statements from Kanu himself. He's been quiet for a while, but his team has been actively engaging with the media and making sure his supporters know what's going on. Any new statements from Kanu or his legal team could give us a better idea of how they plan to handle the next phase of this case. He's been vocal about his belief that the charges against him are politically motivated, and he may have more to say as the situation develops. But one thing is certain, this case isn't going away anytime soon. Whether Kanu wins or loses, the story of his legal battle will continue to be a major topic of conversation in Nigeria and beyond. The stakes are high, and the outcome could change the course of Nigerian politics for years to come. So, folks, keep watching, keep following the updates. There's a lot more to come, and we'll be here to break it all down for you. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to stay up to date with all the latest news. We'll be back soon with more updates.